you sign in. And please print legibly, state your name and your address, and we'll go from there. So this public session is open. Anything that's not on the agenda. Give it a few more minutes. One of the things that I would ask, we have a comment that was submitted late we have a comment that was submitted late at the last meeting, but since the vote on that project is already done, what I would ask is Ms. Kelly Roach, if you would come take this comment, all the commissioners have seen it and have a copy, and attach it to the minutes.
It's good now.
Okay, give it another minute or so. If anybody can think of any topics that are not on the agenda. Yes.
I can't see the agenda. Yeah.
There should be copies of the agenda.
They ran out.
If they ran out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Run some off.
Good.
I'm gonna run some off.
Some of those ladies in the back will want.
Yeah, some of the ladies want one. If y'all want to give y'all.
Yeah, I'll pull mine up on my
Y'all give
computer.
your agendas, and then Jacob will bring you an agenda back.
Okay, sounds good.
Here, give that to Kelly. How many more agendas do we need? Okay, we got one here, one over here, and Jacob is bringing more. In the meantime, let me just kind of go over the agenda, and that way you'll know what's on it and what's not. This session, then the adoption of the minutes from the last meeting, and then we'll have an informational briefing from Nathan. Then we have one action item tonight, which is PUD 000-506-205 or 2025 proposed plan development, 1310 Tiger Boulevard. After that, we have advisory items. And then after we have advisory items, there's a discussion section, which is the future area of North Clemson that we talked about that was presented to us last time, and then concepts for student housing zoning district and staff reports, and then other items, and then adjourn. So that's kind of the agenda until Jacob gets back with those. So if there's anything that I did not listen that somebody wants to speak on, you can do that. Seeing that we don't have that, we'll go ahead to our adoption of minutes. The adoption of minutes from April 13th, 2026. Any edits, submissions, revisions? Okay, so do we have a motion?
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the minutes as are with the attachment. Do you?
Second.
We have a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. Okay, the minutes are approved. So now we're going to have our informational briefing from Nathan Woods, our Assistant City Administrator.
Good evening, Commission members. You'll reference this handout, that's what I'm going to go over briefly in our talk. Go through briefly tonight. I want to walk you briefly through a recent report from Clemson University regarding their growth and infrastructure strategies. Obviously, I work for the city. They had a representative at the city council meeting, but we thought it would be important for you to hear some of this same information. As you know, and as with the city feels in its daily operations, South Carolina led the nation in per capita growth in 2025, and our area remains a primary destination. Our goal is to steward this growth collaboratively while the university maintains a 2%, a growth goal of 2% annual growth. That sheer scale is worth noting. In fall of 2025, total enrollment reached 29,545 students. Of those, 27,119 are on the main campus, which is roughly 1.43 times the size of our entire city population. Looking ahead to fall 2026, they have set targets for 5,050 first-year students and 1,675 transferred students. Not listed here are the additional 1,000-plus bridge students. The high volume of applications, nearly 66,000, indicate that pressure on our local housing and infrastructure will remain a constant factor for this commission in the future. As of fall 2025, the university housed 7,440 students on campus, including bridge students. To mitigate housing pressure, they are adding another 799 beds through the high-rise renovations and further down at Hills expansion. It's also vital for this commission to note that the first-year retention rate is 94.1%. This means that the demand for housing and services don't taper off after the freshman year. It stays consistent through the 4-year academic life cycle. The most significant shift in our local traffic planning is the new first-year resident parking policy. Starting this fall, first-year students are no longer permitted to bring their vehicles to campus. This is a direct attempt to address traffic congestion and reduce vehicle counts on our local roads. While this was a university decision, it was one that we were made aware of well in advance and invited to provide feedback for. For the city, we anticipate two main results for this. Number one, increased foot traffic downtown. We expect significantly more pedestrians in the downtown area. As freshmen will no longer have access to vehicles, we expect them to visit our downtown businesses more frequently. And number two, transit demand. There will be a higher reliance on the CAT bus system, which already saw over 911,000 riders in fiscal year 25. To accommodate this, the Gold Route transit loop, which has been added for some time, connects Grand Mark to CVS to Publix Shopping Center and the Kelly Road student housing complexes to campus. Finally, I want to talk about the economic impacts here. You may have heard that our economic footprint continues to be driven by some large events on campus. From spring commencement last week to one-off events like the Savannah Bananas to major concerts like George Strait and Morgan Wallen, these destination events bring a massive influx of visitors to our local businesses and restaurants. To manage this, the city's public information office and the university's strategic communications team are now in constant contact. We are receiving better data and anticipated impacts than before, allowing our departments to plan more effectively. With the university's growth context in mind, I want to remind you that both this commission and the city council unanimously adopted the 2045 comprehensive plan in February of this year. This plan and the zoning that supports it is the lens through which every single application must be viewed. I'd like to challenge us to again shift our dialogue to stop asking, do we like this project? And start asking, does this project advance the goals of the codified plan? If the plan's our North Star, our job is again to look at three things for every vote. Number one, alignment. Does this proposal fit the future land use map we spent months debating in public? Number two, infrastructure resilience. Does this project support the density goals we've committed to, especially as we manage the student population that is now 1.4 times larger than our resident population? And three, the burden of proof. If a project contradicts the plan, the burden of proof is not on us to find a reason to like it. The burden is on the applicant to prove why we should deviate from that. Conversely, if a project aligns with the plan, we should not spend hours debating its merit. We already decided that it was right for our community when we passed the comprehensive plan in February. When we use the 2045 plan as our primary checklist, we do two things. We create clarity for developers so that they know what to expect, and we create certainty for our citizens that we have a plan and we're implementing it. This transforms our work from a series of disconnected yes or no decisions into a single cohesive effort to build the city that we promised we would. Let's keep that document in front of us as we move through tonight's agenda. so much.
Thank you for the update. At this point, we have an action item, and I'd like to remind everybody that we want to have our rules of decorum here. We're going to have an opportunity for individuals to comment. Again, we would ask you to come say your name and address and sign in if you wish to speak. Please, let's remind that there may be people that have differences of opinion, and that's okay. In fact, that's good. That's how this should work. But we need to treat every person with honor, dignity, and respect. So no moans, groans, clapping. Please don't put me in a terrible situation to have to ask people to be removed. Let's just be kind and respectful of everybody. And so at this point, we will go to our first action item. It is PUD 000-506-2025, Proposed Plan Development, 1310 Tiger Boulevard. Staff, are there any updated reports or changes that commissioners should be aware of?
Yes, sir.
So since there are not, I'd like to ask a member from Kennedy Wilson to come up and update the commissioners on the proposal. As a reminder, you have 10 minutes for the presentation to the Planning Commission. If you need an extension, if an extension is needed, then you can let us know at that time.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
As Commissioner Tyler mentioned, this is our PD3 presentation for the redevelopment of the Best Western on the corner of 76 and 123. On behalf of Kennedy Wilson, my name is Mario Alarius, and I'll be giving the presentation today. As a recap for everyone, this is the team that will be responsible for executing this project. So Kennedy Wilson is the developer. Duell is our architect on the project. We have Josh Sachs here today representing them. Ironwood will be the landscape architect. Seaman Whiteside is the civil engineer for the project. We have Aaron LeBrun here representing them. And then Revel is a national retail consultant that we engaged after our first presentation to help us design and think about how to execute the retail on site tastefully. I'd like to remind everyone a little bit about how we got here. So since our first PD presentation in November, this project has changed drastically. During that first meeting, the commission mentioned a desire for more retail and a greater prominence for the non-residential uses on the site. To address these, we went back and reconfigured the entire project. Your comments in November informed our decision to increase the retail footprint. We took the retail from 6,000 square feet to nearly 16,000 square feet, and we introduced over 7,000 square feet of new open space via a public plaza. This project now represents a new year-round destination for both Clemson residents and our own residents. In our PD2 presentation in February, we heard comments both from the commission and our neighbors. There we heard concerns about traffic, site access, parking enforcement, and noise, among others. We heard those and have since added several features to remedy them as well. During that PD2 presentation, we also heard about the history and the specific needs of the adjacent residential neighborhood, and a desire for this project to more specifically serve those who live closest to it. These comments were insightful. They also sparked a desire in us to more formally engage with our neighbors. And so a little after that PD2 presentation in February, on March 10th, as you can see here, we came back to Clemson and we met with neighborhood leaders at the historic Golden View Baptist Church, around since 1910, I might add, gorgeous building. But I'd like to formally thank those members of the church and the neighborhood who so graciously welcomed us into their space to share their ideas and vision for this successful project. A project that not only is an economic success, but also adequately benefits their community and pays homage to the history of that neighborhood, the historic Calhoun neighborhood. Some of the concerns we heard at this Golden View meeting referenced traffic, noise, the possibility of unruly residents, etc. But there was one other concern that we heard that evening, a sense that the legacy and the history of this community is fading away. Based on what we've heard, we have listened to and engaged with this community more than any developer that's come before us. Well, I'd like to make it clear to members of that community that the concerns and ideas that we heard that evening were not lost on us. We are better informed, and this project better off because of that meeting. As a recap of the overall project and what we're proposing, our plan is to demolish the hotel and deliver a new mixed-use retail and residential project, consisting of 225 units, 752 beds, 15,650 square feet of retail, over 7,000 square feet of open space via that public plaza that you see here, and over 630 parking stalls between the surface stalls and the deck. It'll be about partially or half 6 levels, and the other half will be 5 levels. The off-site features of our plan that aren't totally clear on this plan include over 1,500 linear feet of sidewalk going up Greenlee Place towards Church. We're installing a second bus shelter, evident by that second red circle at the bottom of the page, across 76 for CAT buses turning down that way from Tiger Boulevard. We're also installing a median on the garage access point on Greenlee Place. So our garage will have 2 entrances. One of them will be in the drive aisle on the north of the page. And then there's one on the south of the garage on Greenlee Place that'll be attached to the 3rd level of the deck. There'll be a gate there that is only for residents to enter and exit. And one of the concerns we heard at Golden View was a concern of residents turning left off of that deck and cutting through the neighborhood to get to 93 and eventually campus. So instead, we are incorporating a median, or a half pork chop, as some folks call it, to basically deter our residents as they exit from their ability to turn left. And so they'll have to turn right, down Greenlee, take another right on 76, go around 123, then 93, then campus, which is essentially the route that the CAT bus takes today. And in the morning and during peak hours, likely a faster commute than going left towards college. We're also restriping the lanes leading to and from Tiger Boulevard going up 76, just to make those clear for all traffic. We've discussed other traffic solutions to make life easier for residents, but the reality is that this site has the infrastructure needed to support this additional density. This is evident by the updated traffic study and its lack of recommended upgrades. This study was reviewed and approved by SCDOT and recommended no upgrades to the traffic infrastructure on 76 or 123. Here, I'd just like to reiterate the newly adopted Clemson 2045 plan and where our site lies in it. You can see it highlighted in black as a student housing prioritization zone. And so, yeah, another reason we're so excited about this project is because it aligns so well with this plan. The city of Clemson has made it clear with this plan, but also most of the plans since the 1970s, I've learned quite a lot about over the last few months, that future student housing and mixed-use developments should be either on College Avenue or on those major arterial corridors. That student housing specifically should be closer to the university and on the existing transit route. In other words, on sites like this one, where we can attract students from north of Tiger and west of the lake, and then give them the option to walk, bike, scooter, or use the CAT bus to get to class. Where the existing traffic and utility infrastructure can support the additional density, as I mentioned earlier with the traffic study. But also where retail can thrive, if designed intentionally, because of its proximity to other retail and because of its vehicular visibility. This is a new slide that we added since PD2, just making it abundantly clear how we anticipate the site to be accessed both by vehicular visitors, but also by pedestrian visitors. You can see that the orange dotted line is vehicular residents, and there is no orange line going up Greenlee past that garage. That is our intention with the median in place, that All vehicular residents exiting level 3 can now take a left. If anyone has any questions about this slide, there's a lot going on here, just let me know.
Where is the pork chop?
It's not drawn in yet. We haven't.
Okay.
Yeah, we need to coordinate with a few groups to make sure the measurements and everything look good. But that's the intent there.
It's right here.
These are the project highlights. And these are a few renderings of the project. This view's from Tiger Boulevard or Reed Street. You can see those two out parcels of retail, which we expect to be extremely popular here. A rendering of what a monument sign may look like, and then the larger project set back behind that. Here's that larger project. This is a view of that public plaza, which is set down, so you can see the steps in the back of this, but we expect this to be as lively as it leads right into our leasing space. Here's another view of that. And then this is a paseo and walkway that we anticipate having in between those two retail parcels that leads right to the project. For the retail, as I mentioned, because those two out parcels are going to be so popular, we anticipate those to be F&B, just because of the size and the visibility from Tiger Boulevard. This is just an example. We don't know this for sure, but that's how we're anticipating these sites to be divvied up. D, E, F, and G we anticipate being dry goods, other forms of retail. And then you can see where our leasing space is in relation to those. These are just another few examples. Thank you.
Okay.
These are just a few more examples that Rebel has given us of providers and their relative square footage. Again, we're thinking about this very intentionally. We want these to lease. This project will not be successful with empty retail. Parking considerations, because we know how important that is to our future operators. There's a lot here, but the most important figure is that number 60 in the bottom, basically saying that with that diverse array of retailers, including a full-service restaurant, we won't need more than 60 service stalls, or more than 60 service stalls won't be
Excuse
occupied.
me, hold on. Did somebody from the audience just say something? Okay. I authorized an extension, and this does not count to the time. There will be no more comments to the commission or interrupting. Does everybody understand? Understand? Okay. Go ahead.
Thank you. So the most important number here is the number 60, essentially saying that more than 60 stalls are not anticipated to be used at one time. We're offering 70 stalls, and so enough for a diverse array of retailers. The next, I want to discuss community benefits. So, since our PD2, our community benefits package has increased from 1.4 million to over 1.8 million, mostly via new contributions aimed at benefiting our closest neighbors. They include over $175,000 for Golden View improvements. Specifically, those larger maintenance items that are most important for its longevity, the roof, deferred maintenance, parking lot improvements. Also, $150,000 contribution to the CAM, or the Clemson Area African American Museum, to help support their work. A new $200,000 contribution for future grants to fund aging product in existing neighborhood. So either that's new affordable housing production or repairs and deferred maintenance of the existing stock. But more specifically, these could be things like new energy efficient windows, wheelchair ramps, porch repairs. When thinking about this one, the intent was grants for things that keep existing residents in their home. And then while still maintaining the $750,000 contribution for the CAT Plus system, which will support our residents, the Gold Route specifically, and the $500,000 in retail leasing incentives to support our future operators. Not to mention the other benefits off to the side there. This is 8,500 more square feet of retail than is required by the buy right plan. So nearly double the retail that would be required otherwise. Public Plaza was an addition, and then the taxes that are gonna be a huge addition relative to what the hotel pays today. Also, this does not include, that additional retail has a value of, in our math, about $2 million, not included in this slide. So the cost of building and delivering that additional retail for the project. So in total, you could say our benefits package is nearly $4 million in costs that would not otherwise be delivered in a by right plan. And to that point, I just want to make it clear, we submitted a plan for a by right option last Tuesday to the BAR. That plan has been reviewed by the city. BAR gave positive feedback generally on it, and we are prepared to go that route, but we do not want to. That plan has 201 units, so 20 fewer units than this one, but it has no community benefits. And half the retail. So it would be sad to go that route, but we think this project is much better. So we hope you guys agree. In closing, we think this project, the one before you, is more than worthy of this gateway site and stands to benefit our residents, but also its immediate neighbors, and year-round residents and visitors who want to shop and spend time in Clemson. Thank you to this commission for your input since November. It's made this project better. And thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you. So at this time, this is an action item, and so we provide time and opportunity for the public to speak on this specific item. And so if there are any members of the public who would like to come up and comment on this agenda item, come forward, state your name and your address for record keeping. And we'll have 3 minutes to speak. So please come up.
Remember time I got a hurt knee over here?
You got plenty of time.
Okay.
You take your time.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
My name is Vonna Austin, and I live at 208 Miller Road, Anderson, South Carolina. I am the pastor of Golden View Baptist Church. I, along with some of the members, bring you greetings from the church and the community. I would like to take the time to say thank you for the opportunity for us to voice our concerns. The developers took the time out of their busy schedule on March 10th, I think that's when it was, now I might be wrong, to talk with the members of Golden View and the community. We welcome them in their endeavors. I would like to say they spoke about their plans for the building that would be built and the growth that would be expected from it. Then the developers took the time to listen to the church family concerns and the community. It didn't matter how long it took, they listened and they answered every question that they could and had knowledge of. And then what they couldn't answer, they told us that they would take it back to somebody in authority over them and they would get back with us. And I thought that was mighty good. They had a listening ear. And our concerns was the traffic that was going on, the buildings that's going up, and how we are going to be able to get in and out of traffic. 2 weeks ago, we had a mental health workshop at our church, started at 10:30 in the morning. And the traffic right there on 123, you could see it from miles long. Nobody couldn't get in and out of that traffic. The neighborhood around the church area, all the houses have been sold, or either student houses are going up. The noise from the college students that will be coming in the area. The young man that was leading the meeting that night, he was very nice and polite. I said to him, if your mother was here tonight, what would she have to say about what has taken place tonight? Don't forget where you come from. Always be a helper instead of a hinder. All things work together for the good of them that love the Lord. God bless you and thank you for the time. Amen.
Thank you. Appreciate your comments. Is there anybody else that would like to speak?
Good evening. My name is Bob Healy, and I live on Folger Street. And I have a couple of issues. My first pet peeve is when they had the pictures and they had the 3 locations. The middle one was Greenville. Why are we showing a picture of Greenville? Show Clemson, like the other 2 pictures had. The second issue is the traffic. Turning into this place will be a disaster. We had in the city a lot of problems when the new coffee shop opened, which will be, I believe it's across the street from it. You would have that almost all the time. You would have people on 123 going towards Seneca trying to make a left-hand turn into the parking lot of this facility. You're gonna have traffic backed up past 93 if you if you expect it to happen like that. Even on 76, it's not gonna be any better, because 76, you would have the same problem. You have to cross the 2 lanes in the opposite direction of the way to get in. It just doesn't work. I had a third point, and I think I forgot it. But anyway, I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anybody else?
Greetings to the Planning Commission. My name is Linda Davis. I am the pastor of New Hope Baptist Church in Clemson, South Carolina. I also own property on 502 Goldman Street in Clemson, South Carolina. And I was at the meeting back in March with the developers at Golden View Baptist Church. After meeting with the developers, and they answered most of our questions, honestly, to our satisfaction, I now am in agreement to move forward with the development because the community will benefit. There will be some benefits that will help to improve the Golden View community. I feel like they did listen. I feel like they heard what we were saying, and they addressed all of the community's concerns. So going forward, I hope that we would just agree to move forward with this project. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your comments.
How's it going?
Hi.
My name is Tyler Love. I am a former Clemson University student. Clemson has been my home since 2017. I now work for the Department of Mechanical Engineering. And I had the privilege of serving under Ms. Rosa back in my time in sociology as a student office assistant. She became like a second mother to me, and she asked me to speak today just because I look at these things with a very critical eye. I was also at the meeting at Golden View back in March, and I came in very skeptical, just because I don't typically like developers. However, I will say I was very surprised that day. I think it was an uncomfortable situation for the developers to come in and say, hey, this is what we're gonna do, and some of it can be good and not all of it will be good, you know, some of it will be tough, and to their credit, they handled the grilling from the crowd, and they listened and they iterated, and so I would like to speak on that and just say that they do a really good job. I don't think the project's perfect, but I don't think any project is gonna be perfect. There are some things that I would like to see implemented just from a student perspective. I know walking across 76, if I were going to be walking the campus, that would be pretty scary. So I could imagine a walking bridge, an elevated walking bridge over 76 that could help. I also personally don't like the use of Greenlee Street. I think that should be reserved for the community, but if the community is happy with that and they have worked this out with the developers, then I will 100% support that. I will trust them to make that determination for themselves. So I will say I was impressed with the developers. I think there's still some room for improvement, but overall, I think the plan that was presented tonight is pretty good. So.
Please sign in. Is there anybody else?
Stephanie Platt, Mountain View Lane. I was just wondering, the city, wants to be a destination, for people, for concerts and stuff. Why are we getting rid of a hotel that accommodates these travelers to these concerts and, these events like bass tournaments and so forth? I mean, if we get rid of hotels, then where are they going to stay? I mean, they're going to go elsewhere. They're going to stay in Anderson, they're going to stay in Seneca, and that's not, giving us any kind of, income from the city. So, I mean, why are we getting rid of hotels? I mean, you're going to get rid of this hotel and then get rid of more hotels? I mean, by that time, you won't have any places to accommodate people for events. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Okay, my name is Rosa Graydon. I reside in Central South Carolina. I'm a long-time resident of Clemson, but as you know, I am the chairperson of the Shaw Center. And then I'm nosy, I'm in the community. Okay, y'all already know that, it's established. First, I want to say thank you to the Planning Commission and to the developers for their professionalism, coming in our community, not being familiar with what we do or who we are. First line of business is communication is a large part of any success for understanding and knowledge. Sometimes when change comes, it's hard to adapt to. But since having open dialogue with the developers have given me and the community more insight and understanding, and we will adjust to the change. If not them, who? Because it's gonna happen. If not them, who? Growth is inevitable, but these developers, we welcome you. As long as we work together for the common cause of the community and the developers, we are good. Then what is the real issue about our community? You've been building there before. If you go across the street to 117 Fruster Street, you go up the hill by the credit union, take a right, then take a sharp left and go out the little narrow road. I haven't seen anyone being upset about what's going on out there. I think Mr. Eric Newton is the one who purchased that property and have cleaned it off. And he needs a road. Guess what? He needs a road. You gotta go out there. It's tight. It's really tight. It's in our community. But I don't see anyone getting bent out of shape about something of that nature. Now, of course, we talk about traffic. Let's go to traffic. Well, yeah, traffic has always been tight. Because I used to live over there where the old Kentucky Fried Chicken place is. It's always been tight, you know. And I understand the donut place because I was having a problem with that too. But then I got more clarity on it. And then we know the concert was last week, right? Traffic is tight. But we're gonna leave that up to the developers and DOT to work that out. I would like to see my community profit. And this is the way we have to, this is the way we will. And from my knowledge and my expertise, this is the first time I have been ingrained with developers and people that stand out and want to care. Show us, to me, this is showing that you care, that you want to give us a little piece of the rock. So I'm standing here saying that I look forward to working with the developers, however it may be. And I hope this works out for them just as well. Because I want to build our community however we can. And I appreciate all that you all have done and listened to. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Any more comments?
My phone's not working too good this afternoon, but members of the panel and to the people that's going to try, I'm gonna say try, because I live on 104 Reese Street, Clemson, and the lineage there has been since, oh God, maybe 1930 something, a little bit more. It goes out to my grandfather, Bill Greenlee. Some of y'all may know from this coming down. He worked here for the university, and I'm trying to see which way to Greenlee go out through that street or up under there, that way, because after, when they started the development and everything, I remember my father trying to buy that land from one of it was maybe like a man of the pillar here that he owned several shops, and they wouldn't let him buy it. They wouldn't even let him buy his own grandparents' land. And they said that they had some kind of development for it. But anyway, when they came there through there and put that Ramada Inn was at the time, we all were left on just enough of a hill. So if you came down those streets, you could almost tumble off of the hill. And it's still kind of like that way now. So what my proposal is I feel like when the developers or anybody saying like that they're trying to make our community better there. They're just like pushing us apart. And me and my mama, we went through eminent domain. Now, I believe it may have been in the late 60s or whatever it was. And I feel like if they keep pushing these students and just having us in on this side, where you're gonna come in off of 123 to that street, I forget what that street is, because we're having to put up with people coming in and out. I'm not gonna say mostly CVS because those people, they know, but when they're having some type of a venue or anything there at that motel, they come out, they just run out and they come in. There are students that they walk among there. And I'm trying to figure out, I see one or two people, they have dogs where they're walking their dogs. So they're coming down and the dog is making but they're just every day or every morning. And another thing I would like to say is everything to me is around these students. When they're gonna come here 4 and 5 years and they gone, the majority of them, they do not care. They don't care. And it's all about our land. I have had so many different people, and some of them is just the same one that has been sending me, brochures and everything, trying to ask me for my property or just whatever. So the last one I got, or 2 of them, they have taken pictures of my home and they have asked me, they have sent things out to me and asked me, they said they would even offer me amount of money just for my home, to move my house somewhere. And they just wanted the property. So coming back to that, I just feel like, I don't know, as far as they can go to the students, and then they put, they're gonna put maybe like retail stores, and I feel like if it's gonna get a little bit there, that eminent domain is gonna come in. So I feel like when they say stuff for the students, the sky is the limit. And they can make those dorms and things up to there, and also they can have parking garages in between that, instead of saying they're gonna put, I think the last time I came, somebody put a proposal of put some stores down where the remodel end is. They could maybe like was 265 parking lots, and I don't know which lady was on the team.
Let's try to wrap it up.
Okay, I don't know what lady was on the team. She said there was gonna be too many parking spaces, but anyway, I'm just asking that the panel would give us more consideration than they would the students. Thank you all.
Thank you.
My name is Joanne Hill. I live at 105 Bank Street in Clemson. And I was at the meeting in March at Golden View. So what I would like to say is, while initially I was 100% against it, because I don't think it is necessary in our neighborhood, I appreciate the accommodations that are made to Golden View and to CAM and to the community. So now my feeling is this development is coming. We need to, as a community, take advantage of the concessions that they are willing to make to accommodate us. And I am willing to wait and see. I live across the street behind the new coffee shop up there. And I'm willing to wait and see. I think that there are positives from this development for the community, particularly the assistance that they're willing to do to Golden View Church and the neighborhood. So I'm no longer totally against it, and while my particular concerns were not addressed, I'm willing to, I appreciate their willingness to speak to us and talk about it. So I'm looking forward to seeing it and seeing what happens.
Thank you for your comments. Any other comments? Well, while we're deciding there, I do have one comment that was sent in, and he sends his regrets that he cannot be here. Pastor Russell Oglesby. My name is Russell M. Oglesby, a longtime resident of Clemson's Abel community. The Calhoun community is a part of my roots just as much. This community provides residence for family and friends, as well as a source of educational and social strength. The nearest place where youth can participate in activities and play games without being escorted off of the properties. In 1955, 3 major undertakings occurred which altered the lives of very many African Americans. Lake Hartwell, relocating the railroad, and Highway 123. African Americans suffered 2 significant life impacts which cannot recover. The loss of property, which is considered lakefront property on Lake Hartwell now. They were relocated seemingly because the property would become underwater. The one that's most troubling is the division of Calhoun community due to Highway 123. This nation has historically divided the African American community without any consideration of community impact. Tulsa, Oklahoma, Tryon Street, Highway 49, Charlotte, North Carolina, and many others across the nations we love and live. What's the impact? It's dismantling of communities, division of families, economic chaos, and the legacy of communities trampled by a system without consideration or compassion for our residents. We, and he put, the community and local churches have met with the developers to hear our concerns regarding our historic community. They clearly understand our needs to preserve and to protect our wealth of history. I've never considered invalidating anyone's community when those people choose such actions without truly knowing why. It is through vain selfishness. My sincere request is we are able to secure and maintain Calhoun community's legacy. Respectfully yours, Russell M. Oglesby. Anybody else like to speak?
Good evening. My name is Katie Healy, and I live on Folger Street, and I basically just want to ask how we as a community, how we as a city can approve another development before MODA opens, before the hub opens, before the Riggs Avenue. We don't know what is going to happen with the, I know you say traffic, but we don't have a clue as to how that is going to impact the city and the people who live here. So by approving something else, I mean, can you postpone it for a little bit or something, just to stand back and say, wait a minute, I can't get out of Edgewood Avenue now to get across onto College Avenue unless I sit through 4 or 5 lights. And this is before they have these other buildings coming in. I mean, where are these people going to go with their car? You say they're not going to drive. I walk that area, and I'm telling you, there are people who are walking, but there are people who are driving. And they don't necessarily, they're not all, they're not all students, I realize that. But you don't know. You don't know. None of us know what's going to happen when those other buildings open. And I just feel like we're being foolhardy. We're, what cost to the community is all of this going to happen because of the plan? And I don't know, I just can't understand it. I just can't understand it. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else?
When I was born, the population of South Carolina is around 2.5 million. In South Carolina, in the next couple of years, I got a letter in the mail from a politician. We're going to cross over 6 million people in South Carolina. And they haven't stopped coming yet to upstate South Carolina. And about 150,000 people a year move to South Carolina. I heard that. I'm not sure if that number's accurate, but I believe the person. It's a politician that mentioned this. So we're having a huge influx in all of South Carolina, and as Nathan put out, especially upstate. And the city of Clemson is on a real rush to build. And you think about 398, think about Hub, think about the Moda, Pine Street. All these projects are a rush. And I'm sure that city councils all across South Carolina are doing the same thing we're doing right now. We're talking about more development, more accommodation for influx of people, but this could be a trap for us we're walking into, especially with what we have on the plate right now, the places I just mentioned. We're assuming that we're going to be successful, and there's no guarantee that students are going to say, no, I'm not going to bring my car if they're past a freshman. So there's a lot of kind of gambling. Well, we're going to be hoping these people say, no, we're not going to come to Clemson, we're not going to bring a car. I've spoken to a lot of students. They say, yeah, I'm in one of those places that can't bring my car, but I park it at another building. So everyone thinks they're going to get around the car issue. But my big point is really the influx of people are going to come in, and that's a pressure point right there. That's a pressure point. And we're going to build at that pressure point with 1,600 square foot retail. I've heard the number right. And I think 700 beds. It's a pressure point, and as time goes by, that pressure point is going to get more intense. So I think it needs to be more thought needs to go into that. And something else, I don't know what time is, but you think about this complex. I wish it's still up here on the screen. I think it was 700 beds. Was it 700? Okay, all right. That's the growth of Clemson in 1 year we're looking at from here to 2045. So imagine building one of these every single year. Where are they going to go? We need 2 acres of land every year, at least 2 acres of land, maybe 3 every year. So this is not a plan for the future. We're just trying to cobble something together right now and push another project through. But my point is the fact that we need to come up with a plan that, okay, it's all going to happen. We're going to put 16,000 people, and here's where they can go by the year 25. I'd like to see people talk along those terms of long-term vision for the city of Clemson, not cobbling something together in haphazard developments. So that's my point. My point is, I think I made it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Give it another sure everybody has an opportunity. With that, we'll consider the public comment section of this over. It is an action item, so at this point, I would ask, do any of the commissioners have any comments?
I do. You said 20 or 20 few units with your buy right option. Is that 60 beds, 70 beds?
That bed total is 662, so
Okay.
that's a 90 bed difference, give or take.
Okay, 90 bed difference, okay. I'm not sure if I missed it, but make sure that we have dog waste stations for your residents that bring pets. So that may be something you've already thought of, but we want them because the dogs will go to the bathroom in our neighborhoods, and we don't want that. Somebody asked if this could be postponed, but a buy right option was sent to BAR. So I just want to make sure that I say that, because the question was, can we postpone this? But y'all are on 2 tracks right now, and we're at 1 track tonight. I love the idea of the walking bridge that the gentleman brought up. I don't know how to make that happen, but I love that idea. I'm just want that known that I have the same concerns with people crossing 76. I appreciate all of the community showing up to speak tonight. We saw some different faces. That matters. I think you guys are young, and developers tear things down to build new things. And if you can learn from this experience that you need to get to know your communities that you're building in and what they want. And the other thing is, some of our community members are very loud. So if you do not follow through with your words, or if you do not do things the way you promised at the church meeting, the community meeting, we're all going to know about it, and the community know about it. So they tend to be quiet until you do something wrong. So just know that. But I appreciate that you had the community meeting because I think that means a lot to me. I'm growing up I grew up in Louisiana, and you're living in an area that people are not making considerations for people that don't have as much as somebody else, and I think it matters. That was very important to me, and I appreciate the community members that came up and spoke about that, because initially I think there was a lot of rallying people to show up, and I appreciate y'all being willing to talk to the developers, if that makes sense, because what you came and said tonight was very important to me. So that paves the way in how I vote tonight, because I appreciate hearing your voices, because you matter. I think the by right option has less community benefit, and I'm in favor of what you guys have done since we saw you last. So,
I'll echo some of the same sentiments that Commissioner Hyatt had as well. Just a couple of questions I had. So on page 2 of the written ordinance, the pedestrian access, so C, about construction of new sidewalk. So will that sidewalk go from Greenlee to Church Street? I think it said somewhere 1,400 linear feet, so I don't know what the,
We're still not getting exactly what route it will take. That number is locked in, but there's still some discussions around what's the more efficient route, which one will get used more and thus have a greater benefit. There's a chance it goes all the way up to Church, or if not, it starts coming back down towards Reed Street. So that number's in place, but we don't know the exact route.
There is, and I would put,
I think maybe something got left off of that.
in C, Art.
C.
So if you look at C, pedestrian, it's sidewalk and, I don't know if that was just a typo. What we're talking about, everybody, so you know, you find it in the community packet that you could download. For any planned development, it is actually a zoning change, and they have to submit an ordinance. And that ordinance governs entire property. So for instance, in this ordinance, it says that they have to put up a 150% bond to ensure that all retail is placed. So that's what we're talking about and reading off of now. It is in the minutes. And so a lot of this language holds responsibility. And when it comes to monitoring traffic and monitoring parking spaces, all of that stuff is written within this ordinance. And so that's what we're talking about now. And I just wanted to give some clarity so everybody understands what the discussion is about. Yeah. Go ahead, Commissioner Rice.
No, so I wanted to make sure if there was something else that needed to be added in there that got left off on that C. It says including construction of a new sidewalk and there's nothing else afterwards.
I think that's just saying and.
And the next one.
Okay.
Okay.
There's a little more detail on the following pages where it says offsite improvement.
Yeah.
That's a little more specific about the sidewalk.
You can clear that up a little bit administratively, Jacob. It's just, it has an and that doesn't seem like it flows.
Yeah, so on the next page, it goes down, it says along Greenlee to Church Street.
We'll take care of it.
Okay.
Just so you're all aware, the 1,400 linear feet is on off-site improvement section 103.
And then I may have missed it in, oh no, there it is. So I just wanted to make sure that even with the 500,000 incentive for the retail leasing, that the 150% of the cost of the build out would be included as well. So I think that's it. I think some of the other things, questions I have already been answered. So again, thank you, and most of all to the community and for you guys, including them in this process as well. That goes a long way.
Commissioner Crowley.
Yeah, not too much, just a couple of things. Integration with transit. I noticed you guys have the bicycle parking, you've got some scooter parking listed. It doesn't mention an amount of scooter parking, but I was also curious, I'd mentioned before about the micro mobility charging, and I know a lot of places don't allow bring your electric scooter or whatever in to charge it in your room. If you guys have provisions for that built in.
I don't think we've defined them yet, but we anticipate scooter parking or that.
Well, that's it. When you say scooter, I don't know if you meant traditional, like gas scooter, but that's what, so like everybody's got the one wheels and, whatever, hoverboard, whatever they're, right, electric skateboards or whatever. I know that having the lithium batteries in buildings is a liability.
Right.
So two things, I think on the architecture, we have currently 40 like Vespa scooter, like those kind of parking spots, the 3 foot by 6 foot spaces that's in the garage. And then when we talk about like light mobility, that'll also be within like our bicycle parking, and we will have provisions for plugs within that for secure charging for light mobility.
And that's like we're talking about that's like the closet style for the bikes or whatever.
Correct, exactly. It'll be in the garage on the ground floor,
big room or whatever
with like sufficient plugs, etc. for charging for residents.
Okay. I just didn't see that. I just wanted to make sure that was in there. Shared parking provisions. Is that, what are you guys anticipating for that, just to consider from a traffic standpoint?
So I know it's in the P ordinance. So how we've divided up the parking is we have dedicated retail spaces. We've got retail employee parking within the deck. We have resident guest parking within the deck, and then we have resident guest parking. We just wanted to, we are like reserving the right for some crossover. For example, if at night, if there's employees that are no longer on site, could that also be facilitated for guest parking when the employees, some crossover if there is a need.
Well, it just said shared parking arrangements are expressly permitted. And I just reuse, I mean, I didn't know if that's like, okay, if we have, 600 resident spots and only 300 of ours bring a car, we'll lease out the other 300, or if this is like you were saying, Arby's is closed or whatever's going to be, whatever restaurant's out there is closed, but the fitness center needs more parking, so after 8, the fitness center can use the parking.
Correct. So it could be either. It just gives us a little bit of flexibility on how to manage the parking as the uses change throughout either the day or if like overall parking uses changed a little bit. If that makes sense.
It does. I was just curious. The concern with that was if there was a shared agreement with an off-site place, like Shepherd downtown, is all off-site parking.
Yep.
If it'd be a situation like that, just how access would be controlled or where they would come in from.
No intent for that.
No intent.
Okay. This is all just to manage on-site.
Just within shared parking agreements within site. Okay.
The garage is restricted access in both entry points?
Correct. There'll be a gate on Greenleaf for resident use only, and then as you enter the garage and kind of round the bend and start going up the ramp, there'll be a secondary gate. Okay. So from beyond that would be resident only. Below the gate would be employee, resident guest, and commercial employee parking.
But the backside garage entry is also restricted?
Yes. Yeah, because that's above. Yeah, above.
Is that the one you're referring to as interior? That's not the interior one, right?
No, that would be the one on Greenlee is gated right when you enter, so only residents can enter there. And then within the deck is another gate, so that the ground floor and part of the first floor of the deck is for retail and guest parking.
I just didn't know from a standpoint of just from our stuff as far as legalese on this, if the constant mention of underlying zoning is a problem, because there isn't going to be any underlying zoning. To me, the PD is the zoning.
Well, we've always used that terminology just to mean like what it was beforehand. But in what section are you talking about?
So like there's wherever this is, it's the standards. It talks about, what page is that? It's my page 6. It says like the height. It says this is underlying zoning, just the setback, just 15 feet actually. Underlying zoning is 8 feet.
What section?
Page 6, section 108.
Okay.
It's mentioned a few times throughout here about the underlying zoning.
Yeah, I've noticed it for signs and everything like that, where they talk about.
This talks about, I mean,
he's talking about minimum of building setback. So basically it's saying the actual here is going to be 9 feet. 8 foot is what the underlying zoning would have been.
Yeah, I just didn't know if that needs to be, I mean, if it's fine, it's fine. I just didn't know, when I read it, I was like, well, there's not any underlying zoning to refer to.
Yeah, I mean, they're giving what they're actual going to be, so it doesn't, I mean, we can change it out to existing.
No, I just didn't know. I didn't.
It doesn't matter because it doesn't regulate anything.
Okay.
Right.
Oh, trash. It says insert additional information regarding dumpster locations. Do we not know where the dumpsters are going yet? Section 120? Because the only dumpster I saw on here was next to the retail spot, and I don't know if you can fit 700 people's trash in a dumpster.
So that's the type, that dash should be removed from the ordinance, but it is shown on the site plan. There are multiple trash and loading zones on the site plan, so there's 2 for the retail. Mm-hmm. And then within the parking deck itself is where we'll manage all the residential trash. All right.
I think that was it. Yeah, I don't see any, that's it. And well, the traffic pattern coming out, you said on Greenlee, you're gonna try to do the pork chop so it comes down, but do you guys have a designated like ride share pickup spot or any kind of way, just so that people aren't walking out on the third floor on Greenlee and then grabbing the Uber without pulling into the garage and heading up through there or whatever?
So we'd expect rideshare pickups to happen like outside the plaza area. For most folks, that's where we think most residents are gonna like naturally, just like the circulation of the building, that's where we think it's gonna draw them to. Like there's no elevators on that side of the garage where the Greenlee entrance is. So we think folks are gonna naturally kind of wanna use the front of the sort of 123 side or the plaza side of the project.
Okay.
Do that with signage of some sort, maybe not a dedicated.
Yeah, just something that's like, hey, here's the pickup, or just to kind of.
Signage to create where Uber or whoever goes to a certain spot.
Because there's a lot of intention in town, and there's a few here or there. I'm not saying it's a major problem, but I've seen a couple of pickups in the middle of 123, car stopped on 76 to let somebody in, just trying to avoid picking up in roads.
Yeah, we can definitely have.
Because there's nowhere to even pull off right there, so.
Yeah.
And you can take care of that administratively?
Mm-hmm. And just out of curiosity, is there a reason that you guys went 7 with the deck and only 5 and 6 with the residential?
So we wanted to park it sufficiently, and I think we are doing a great job of acknowledging that car ownership rates are high in Clemson, and instead of under parking the project as other developments tend to do, especially in student housing, we are what a lot of other industry leaders would say over parking probably, and so to fit those stalls, we just have to go higher. That's the short answer.
Any other comments, Commissioner Crowley?
I think I'm good. There's some stuff I could nitpick, but I mean, that's,
Anyway,
I don't want to
get with Jacob, he'll handle it administratively. Any other comments about the project in general from what you heard tonight?
This project, it's it seems like they've been here a while, been back and forth, paid attention to everybody and what they said, have addressed concerns. It's doing what needs to be done.
Commissioner Franks?
Yes, thank you. Tremendous progress since March. Commissioner Hyatt, I think you just nailed it at the very beginning, so thank you for putting a fine point on just the collaboration that's happened and the listening ears that you've given to the community, because that is significant and means so much, I think, to all of us. I just have a few questions. I'm absolutely supportive of where we have landed. As you talked about the commercial piece of things, will leasing incentives be structured in a way that attracts neighborhood-serving uses?
Candidly, we haven't delved that far yet, and we're still navigating and engaging local experts into what South Carolina specific and Clemson specific retailers look like and what they need, and so we're just not that
far
into
along
it yet. Yeah,
but that would, I think, be important, be valuable. Parking. Is there a plan if the residential parking ratio just blows up and it proves to be insufficient? I mean, particularly during peak student demand. I mean, has there been discussion that if the ratio, if what you all are envisioning and what the plan is, if it doesn't work?
I'll be candid again.
That's okay.
There have not been discussions. Again, I think the recent developments are all under 40% parked, just to give context of how this compares. And in our industry, for new developments, 2025 and beyond, you're looking at 30% and below, typically across the country. And so this, from a stall to bed perspective, is very high. And so and we're on the cap bus route, right? And so I think those two things together would cause a lot of disbelief if it weren't enough, but we'll plan for it when we get there.
Okay.
For sure. We want our residents to be happy. We want our retailers to be happy.
Okay, thank you. I think the only other one is related to the community benefits, and again, I may be ahead of us again, but has there been discussion about a timeline, if all were to go forward, a timeline for delivering on each of the benefits? The CAT bus contribution, the church improvements, affordable housing funds, just a timeline.
So we've had some conversations with the community and city staff, et cetera. So typically how these community benefits work is that they're paid at prior to certificate of occupancy. We understand there might be some more urgent needs for maybe the church, et cetera. So those are something that we are open and flexible to adjust as needed. But typically I think these are paid prior to certificate of occupancy.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I don't have any other questions.
Commissioner, you got it. Everybody's asked all the questions, so I just had a couple. I probably missed it, and I can't believe John didn't ask this one. So the turning lane coming out onto Greenlee Street, we're going to go left or right or whichever way. Do we need to define that that's in the ordinance, and do we need to define that there's the concrete island or pork chop in there?
It is in the civil drawings that are part of the submission. It's just not on this presentation, on this sheet, but it is in the civil sheet. That's an attachment to the.
We don't have to have it in the ordinance necessarily?
You don't have to, but I mean, I will give you the out, and if you're adamant about that, that's something we can add between here and council vote for
I
sure.
think the only adamant, let's see if that's a word, I don't know if that's a word or not, but is to make the no left turn.
Yes.
Coming out. We want to make sure that
agree.
that's.
Yeah, I think staff's in agreement with you, absolutely.
Make sure that happens, however you do it.
Jacob, will you?
We can add that to the ordinance, that's no problem.
Okay.
Because again, people, lie, cheat, and steal, and trying not to let that happen for all of our sakes.
Yep.
The leasing incentives, so that would, yeah. So I know you said you're still developing it, but how do we monitor or quantize that distribution, how that works? And do you and Jacob get a say in how that works? Like, we want people to come.
Sure, yeah.
So
yeah.
can we give a lot to people who really want? We really want, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So how does the city regulate that to be a real community benefit instead of more along the lines of their benefit?
No, that's good. I mean, typically how much smaller incentives in the past is they would be required to give us a report of how things are going. So, I mean, that's one. Between this incentive and the bond, that's like,
it's a lot.
It's a lot for it. So it will be attractive. But I haven't thought about it like you're saying, in terms of we want this, we don't want that. Yeah.
And get people in those retail spaces.
Because do we need another coffee shop? Because there's one across the street. You know what I mean?
Because Greg had a point a couple of months ago about we're missing out on a lot of commercial retail leasing space by doing what we're doing. We're going from what could have been, and I know all about what you're doing now, and you could submit either way to PD or through regular permitting, but if we're gonna do the PD, we just wanna make sure we have the capability to get what we need there.
Would you guys be open to us? I mean, I think you're gonna say yes, but be open to myself and my team just strategizing with the retail consultant you've hired and hash out some of this?
Yeah, I think that's, definitely.
I think so, yeah.
And there was consideration put into the design of the commercial units as far as their depth and the grease traps and
I saw that too, that's also big.
to get what we envisioned there. So, we like to regulate things on a physical aspect more than like individual contracts between private parties. So we try to put in the best opportunities to develop what we want.
Well, I don't drink coffee, so just as a thing.
How do you like nail salons?
So previously, Reed Street was also some concern about, because it's a double road crossing. And I know in the ordinance it says that there's been some communication, or there will be communication with the city engineer. Have you already had those discussions and what that kind of calming measures looks like right now?
We have not, that add to the ordinance was the request of the engineer, and I think it's TBD on those discussions with the community. I don't think they've been had yet.
We're gonna have to have a community meeting to determine that, and that's the reason.
I was just wondering if that had already happened, if there was some discussion, but just as long as it's covered. I know that was a big
We
deal.
heard that they want them, but a lot of times, you know, we can do a road diet, we can do speed, like there's so many things, and a lot of times, my neighborhood's a great example, they don't agree on what those measures would be, so we have to have another meeting to determine what that would look like.
And then, very last thing, and I'll stop. The buffer requirements are the same regardless if it's a PD or not, right? So our regular zoning buffer, landscape buffer requirements, do they change?
No.
Yes.
So are they, so how, so the, I don't even know what, there's not a street back there, but if you turn up the pre and you go, just like she was talking about the hill, so is that specifically addressed in? They may be addressed on a plan we don't
Yeah,
have.
it's in, there is a buffer shown on the civil drawings.
We just want to make sure that.
There's also a fence being shown on to avoid people, like, as you mentioned, that steep hill. So we are showing the fence being added
That's
there.
another one of those that's always come up since October or November or whenever we talk.
Yeah, that's true.
And then I think the other part that you'll see that as well is none of that gets approved until the PD landscape plan and until Tony's department does that. None of that gets approved until it goes through the city engineer. None of it gets approved with stormwater.
I saw that, just it wasn't defined exactly what I asked, making sure that somebody other than you is providing it, at least the feedback to make it done right. I'm good.
Any other comments on what you heard tonight?
I mean, I don't, it was back to the incentives or whatever, and it was just when I read that, my brain instantly went to, well, gee, if they wanted to get all that back, very easily, they would just, instead of putting in a fitness center, Golds could take the out parcel, they could get all their kids free memberships, there's $500 in guaranteed incentives, plus now that space is leased, so you get the money back, and I don't have to build a fitness center in the building. So your stuff about mentioning the regulation, you know, and you guys going over whatever kind of covers that, but that was my concern. Things like that where it's like, we've got to get it built out. Probably we'll do a fitness center. If we get Golds to come in, we can guarantee them 600 memberships, we'll pay for it, it'll be part of your rent. And that doles out as part of the incentive to recoup or whatever, but I think we all want to see something other than that.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, what I would tell you is thank you so much for the hard work you've done. I appreciate you guys listening from the very first day meeting. I really appreciate the fact that you engaged with the community. I appreciate Pastor Davis, appreciate Pastor Oglesby, appreciate Ms. Rosa and everybody else for the engagement. What I would mention to everyone here, this is not a matter of if something's going to be developed there. It's a matter of, is it going to be a planned development process with community benefits? Or is it going to be what was presented last week at the Board of Architectural Review? The issues of wait and see are not reality. That cannot be done. And I understand, like everybody else, the growth pressures that are going everywhere else. I can honestly tell you that there was genuine dialogue, and I appreciate the pastor for hosting that meeting, and it was a very, very important Avenue an important step. The other part that I would just like to say, everybody here, that you don't realize some of these things that haven't been done in the past. But what we have been discussing and all these last things may not make sense, but they do have to control the way that traffic goes through there. It is required in this document that will be legal if this plan development goes through. They have to. It is not okay. It's just not. The other thing that they have agreed to is this is not a PD in perpetuity. Most PDs that you have in the city here, you look at their language, they have not agreed. They have agreed as long as it can be used for the same use, that the next closest zoning as different things go on, that they would adopt that. And this follows this. And so when you look at 30 years from now, so talking about having a want of a plan and a plan are two different things. These are not stabs in the dark. The plan, the comprehensive plan that City Council just planned is a plan. And that is the plan. That is what they passed recently. It is up to many discerning minds, our planning department, input and listening to hear that, and the concerns are real. We cannot slow down the growth in South Carolina. South Carolina was the #1 state. We cannot slow down the growth that is happening in the upstate. It is going to happen. We cannot control the fact of 123 by a railroad and 123 by a lake. We cannot control that. The purview here of this commission within the laws of the state of South Carolina and with the unbelievable minds and the input that have been put here are, does this meet the plan? Does it fit? And what else is coming out of this are the considerations and the questions. This is not, and I want everybody to understand, this a development will happen. And so when you're talking about traffic and all these other things, the wait and see, you can't wait and see. That's been part of the problem because people have waited and saw and put them in places they can't see them, and all the traffic even gets that much worse. So you guys can go ahead and sit down. I just want to tell you thank you. I appreciate the community, appreciate it, the pastors. I appreciate it very much for y'all's due diligence. I don't know that most people understand the true engagement, of listening and expressing and having true dialogue versus the other thing. And that happened. Now, did everybody get what they want? Nope. Probably not. But I just needed to say that. And I just want to thank you in this case for your attention and different things. So with that being said, and all the things administratively, staff, y'all know what to work with them on for this to add clarity. I will tell you that I would encourage you, the ordinances, when they're done, please read them. They control a lot of these concerns that you can't see. Please read them. They do. And staff has gotten very good at going through them and with a critical eye and taking a look and trying to do it. So saying with vacancies and things like that, it's all in ordinance now, has to be done. So with that, Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to send a positive recommendation for PUD 000506-2025, proposed plan development 1310 Tiger Boulevard, to City Council with the staff administrative changes made to the written ordinance.
Is there a second?
Second.
So we have a motion to send a positive recommendation, PUD 000506-2025, proposed plan development, 1310 Tiger Boulevard, with administrative changes from staff to City Council. Is there any discussion?
Just don't forget the dog waste station.
Yeah,
Okay.
It's in here. I read it. It says pet waste. Yeah, I'm sure.
It is,
I'm
okay.
100% positive.
Okay,
It's in there.
perfect.
Don't worry, but we'll get with them about where that makes sense to put it.
They
We'll
will
probably
have to
them in
put it
neighborhood.
on the plan, but it says they have to provide it.
Okay.
Some on the perimeter instead of just in the courtyard would be a good idea.
No, yeah, we'll just get with them about where to put it.
So we have that. Any other discussion? We'll take a roll call vote. Commissioner Crowley.
Yes.
Commissioner Franks.
Yes?
Commissioner Yoder. Yes. Commissioner Wright.
Yes.
Commissioner Hyatt.
Yes.
And I vote yes. So that is to send with positive recommendation to City Council. So at this point, we will move to the next part of our meeting here. And we encourage everybody to stay for it. But if you can't, we understand that as well. Are there any advisory items?
No, sir. No advice.
Okay. Jacob, we have two discussion items. Let me remind everybody what this is about. The discussion items are just that, discussions. They are comments, they are things that staff is bringing for us to hear and for us to discuss. There's no action item whatsoever on these, so there's not time for public comment on this. This is just for us to hear what the staff has to say.
Okay, so this is a staff proposal to change the zoning of the lots on North Clemson to RM1. So you'll see it on the diagram given you in a kind of a salmon-y, like pinkish color here. Not pink really, orange. And we took a lot of time to decide on what the appropriate boundaries were, what was the look we were going for, how we saw the development going in this area. And we're comfortable with what is being proposed. You will notice that it's pretty much everything that fronts on North Clemson that isn't already a higher density, and obviously we've not changed the zoning of the park, just because there's no reason to. This would allow for higher density than what is currently there. Currently, it's single family only, although there is several, multifamily in that location currently. They would fall under the new design guidelines, so they would have to have, there's parking standards about breaking up to smaller parking lots, not being able to do like large parkings for multifamily, high aesthetics, similar to what you saw the duplexes that got recently built on North Clemson. But those two duplexes are in the green section you'll see. So although that's the continuation of kind of what we're looking for down there, that is a different zoning district. I guess with that, does anyone have any questions? The occupancy in RM1 is still 2, so this is not intended to be student housing. We have a growing need for alternative housing types. So basically not your traditional single family that we are hearing a lot of non-students are wanting to be in. And some of them will absolutely be game day houses. We know this. And again, it's good to have an avenue for that to come out because people want game day houses in this neighborhood and we'd rather them not buying up our single family houses for game day houses, which is something that we've been running into a lot lately. So we want to provide a alternative to the game day housing market as well.
Any comments, commissioners, questions?
Just, and again, I know that the land use maps and everything are, you know, edges bleed or whatever, but from a public facing standpoint or whatever, and we just went through this with the PD about does it meet the land use? I mean, it is drawn in as a priority zone for student housing. And I'm not saying I'm for that. I'm just saying that we've got one saying one thing and we're saying we're doing another. And I just want to square that publicly so that people know that we're not doing this to do that.
Correct. Yes. That general area, as you'll see, the green on either side of it is absolutely student housing.
Right.
After full analysis of everything that we are experiencing, we don't, and there will be students there, I'm sure, as well. We are not moving forward with a higher occupancy density there.
Okay. I just wanted to, I mean, if you look at this and then do that, I just want to make sure that's clear for anybody who comes back and references it or whatever, that it's not okay, well, we've upzoned it so we can say that, oh, well, we're only going up to one more, 10 years from now or something. We're only going up one more level because it's already that, anything like that.
It actually, by going to the RM1 here in those areas, prevents that.
Yes,
it absolutely prevents it from happening.
Prevents what from happening?
And going up higher levels within this area. We're not able to do that in RM1, right?
Yeah, he's meaning the height restriction.
The height.
No, the height restriction is still the same, 35. Yeah, it doesn't
Right.
increase the height compared to what's in
No, I wasn't saying height. I meant going up to like RM4 or
Gotcha.
something. Like you going up to because the map says, hey, here's a student housing, here's student housing, here's student housing. It's in the plan, it's for there. And I just want people to understand that, we talked about the map. And so if you put these things together, we've looked at data and made a decision and decided that that's not what we want here. We want this other thing here, and plans change, and that's what we're doing.
Gotcha. Thanks, John. That's good. Anybody else?
I guess hypothetically, some of these lots, kind of what, just so I can wrap my head around it. For example, say in that 228, 222 area on the map, you're thinking like having a unit where you would enter off a hedgerow and then another unit where you would enter off of North Clemson?
That is potentially the case. You could either have it configured a couple different ways, but yeah, you either have two on there. We are really probably trying to encourage alley loaded from hedgerow anyways. But yes, you could actually have it, doubled.
Just the way these lots look, they're all pretty
deep.
Pretty straight cut and deep.
Yeah.
And what is on RM1, right now, there's a home there. Now that home can now be a duplex or a triplex or a quadplex?
In RM1, yes, the highest it could potentially be is a quadplex. So townhouses and quadplexes, triplexes, duplexes. And they all have to go in front of the Board of Architectural Review, and there's very strict standards on how big a parking lot could be, all sorts of things like that.
So going down to 183 Old Greenville Highway, look at the 177, 181, 175, 179, right beside it. That's like, I know that each one's privately owned, but do you see where I'm talking about, Jacob?
171 Old Greenville?
No, 183.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, next door, it's like there's four, what that really looks like is there's four little houses there. That's what we're talking about?
That would be a potential for somebody who could do that. Yeah, those are what we call patio homes in our kind of world, and that is another allowed use in the zoning district. So small lots, 1,000 square foot lots per house on it. Yes. And we
Tiny houses?
Yeah, we think that's appropriate for that area.
Tiny houses?
Tiny houses, yep.
4 tiny houses.
You could also stick 4 tiny houses, and you can
With 2 people in each tiny house.
Correct.
Yep.
We have a minimum square foot, we don't have a minimum.
We do not have minimum square footage, but we do have architectural standards that you're gonna have to look cute, honestly. So even if they, do the tiny house route, they would have to follow certain design guidelines.
So can you buy 4 lots and make, like a little tiny house neighborhood?
Theoretically, yes. And patio homes do not have the same standards as far as frontage as kind of your traditional neighborhood lots. So you can have them where they're kind of all centered around a green space and have the parking split up around and have it more of a community-centered look. We actually, I'm working on one of those in town right now. If it goes through, we'll see.
Anecdotally, I would say that the lot prices in this area would not be conducive to tiny home development.
I think you might see small houses, but probably not like a 350 square foot house. Maybe, but
Now, a patio home set up like weird, because I forgot I could interject, this is a discussion. Yeah, patio home I think is likely, but we have had, or we frequently have folks come to us with, they have a lot and they want to put like 8 tiny homes on it or whatever. That's not the intent here at all. And I don't think for the value of these lots to make that work on a ledger would be difficult.
Just for instance, lot 112 sold for $1 million in 6 hours.
112.
You're saying parking?
Parking, so if you've got 4 patio homes, 2 people each one, then we need parking space, do we guarantee 8 parking spaces, or how does that work?
yeah, you are required to do 2 parking spaces for pretty much every one of those type of units, unless you're doing quadplexes, and triplexes aren't required at that same level. But duplexes, single family, and townhouses are all 2 per unit. Doesn't matter the bedroom, but 2 per unit. Now you aren't allowed to do like a big group parking lot for a bunch of different houses. That just takes away from the neighborhood feel.
Right.
Now there are provisions in the right situations. We do allow for creation of on-street parking, which can actually count towards your parking requirement as well. On-street parking is actually viewed in most planning circles as a good thing for a neighborhood like this. It slows people down. It breaks up without having large parking lots on the site itself.
But we're getting that beautiful new sidewalk put in.
Yeah, we can make it weird.
You probably wouldn't be there.
What I was going to say is, do we want to do, if we do this, do we want to, I hate to make it too complicated, but do an overlay for this area that says you can't make North Clemson your rear, you can't face your house toward
come off the backside.
Yeah, the North Clemson has to be the front, or you can't have parking on North Clemson. Something like, some extra restrictions like that, just so somebody doesn't get an idea of, if I do this little donut here, now the whole rest of the world's got to look at the back of all my houses and the cars pulling in and out.
Yep, that's a good idea. So an architectural overlay for this district?
Well, yeah, I hate having so many different things in town, like it just.
I think you would just change, what in my brain right now, I would just change the BAR district standards to accommodate that for this particular area, instead of doing an overlay.
Yeah, we actually already have them set in there for residential anyways, regardless of where they are, so we probably just add it to that section saying if you're blah, 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 just.
Oh, so the separate standards, okay.
Yeah, it wouldn't be part of this, but we have a place to hold it.
Just to your point, so we don't have to add something.
Right, that's what I'm saying, it's like, I look at the codes a lot, but I can't quote you everything from everywhere right now, but that's one of the things, it's like, all right, this is a special area over here stuck in the hole, whatever extra little stuff we need to put in there to make sure it gets built out the way we want it to get built out, and not have people say, well, I can put a bigger house and then I'll do on-street parking, and defeat the whole purpose of our nice new sidewalk that connects everything and all that, because cars pulling in and out.
Yeah, the city has to approve on-street parking, like we can say no for any reason. So.
Okay, yeah, well, that covers it, but if we wanted to encourage cars around back instead of driveways there, so cars are pulling in and out of the driveway, for example, and cutting across sidewalks or whatever.
I like to have in the ordinance, giving people kind of a heads up as to what we're looking for anyways, so
right,
I like that.
Okay.
I think that's good.
Just kind of make hedgerow the access.
Yep.
I have a question, like 221, can that be divided into 2 lots?
It's big enough to do that now, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, 221 under current zoning can be divided into 3 lots.
So that's an acre and a half?
Yeah.
Just for,
Well, no, it's
I'm just
not-
looking at it for
I
scale.
think it was R12.
R12, you're right, okay, so. yeah.
So it could be divided into 3 lots?
After this goes through, it may be divided into more if you did like townhouse lots. I'd have to look exactly what it is, but yeah. I don't want to get into like telling you exactly how many lots. That's a whole other analysis I can do like site by site. But if you want, if I can tell you, I could do that for you. I just don't want to do it right here.
Yeah, if you do townhouses, the interior lots are super small.
Yeah, well, how it's set up currently, it's still, and this might get adjusted, but right now how RM1 is set up, it's still 3,500 square feet even for a townhouse lot.
Well,
even though that's bigger than a normal townhouse lot, is because we kind of have this idea that it'd still be green space involved in the townhouse.
Right, I just compared to what it is now, that's 4 times, that's roughly, but that's interior, you've got larger requirements for your exteriors and stuff, but I mean.
Yeah, we think, in general, we've had some conversations with consultants, it was like, you know, and there was in certain communities, there's a thought process of, you know, your empty nesters move into like these nice townhomes, but because of the way Clemson's developed over time, we're a more student-rich community. Townhomes, in a sense, have a bad name because we haven't had the type of townhome developments that we're actually envisioning here. So there are some in town, just not at the level to make them at the front of everyone's mind.
Any other comments or questions, commissioners?
Yes, sorry.
No, not be sorry about this.
Why didn't we, the R12, why didn't we make that RM1?
Because the other lots, you know, are really fronting on North Clemson.
Okay.
So we're really trying to develop that corridor to that become your real pedestrian route between those 2 connection points downtown there. We're not really, I guess, encouraging everyone to start to meandering through Hillcrest and up through there. That's not really the intention. We haven't had the same level of interest from the property owners saying that they were looking to do this. So maybe we've had some up there, but not to my knowledge of any of those property owners in the Hillcrest, what we've seen in R12 saying, I really want to upzone, I'm looking to develop this in a different way. Whereas in the other ones we have. So that's basically, we're trying to create a walkable community in that particular district.
And Jacob, as I was reviewing this, that I kept coming back to that lens of the comprehensive plan in terms of housing diversity, walkability, objectives. This clearly seems to do that. I would just be interested, as you're thinking about this pedestrian-friendly corridor, have you all gotten, or have you been able to envision beyond zoning what the design or infrastructure improvements might actually look like?
Yes, we've looked at, obviously, the wider sidewalk is the biggest one. A planting street tree scheme that goes actually in the same zoning ordinance. They are required to have a certain number of trees per frontage. We already have the decorative lights. People don't even realize that.
Yeah, I realize.
But then there's also, there are discussions from our city engineer about, you know, where bike paths can be implemented, where other little connection paths can be implemented. Is there any opportunity for one-way streets in that area? But mostly it is just the sidewalk, the street trees, and the lighting. Okay.
That's big.
And the underlying, the pipes underneath the sidewalk, of course.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's all the infrastructure that goes with that. And potentially, you know, things like adopted corners with little benches and gardens and things like that.
I think that's really compelling.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I've had extensive conversations with the mayor about Shanklin Sam's Park. You know, that's a big asset in this area and used by everyone in town. So definitely want to protect that. You know, you're lined with big canopy trees there already, so just kind of continuing that as a requirement to homeowners down the street.
I think that's
I'll tell you straight up, we've even discussed things like hedgerow already has some areas that have distinctive plants on them. one thing we were talking about was in the overlays, actually saying, oh no, you have to plant these certain things. You're going down an alleyway and there's like a certain planting scheme of, flowering bushes going down like a cute little thing. Those type of things are kind of easy to do if you plan them out ahead of time and make for very distinctive features. So, yeah, I guess the answer is yes, we'll do a lot of stuff.
Other comments or thoughts? Concerns? Go ahead.
No, I'll just say, I know several of you wrote in, I think Greg wrote in, I know John stopped by, Tiffany, I don't know, call y'all, I think y'all did, but regardless, it's so super helpful and stuff like this, and like before this and even after this is the time to do that. And y'all, it's been refreshing, because like, I don't know what you said, I wrote it down, but John said something tonight that we'll incorporate in this. So, I mean, this is sausage and how it's made, so this is helpful.
Well, I encourage you to do that as this goes on. The only thing.
And we also encourage not only the commission, but anyone in the public is very much encouraged to come down to city staff, and you get way more done doing that than coming to these meetings. Like that is, a much more effective way to make a difference in your community.
And let me say that again in case people didn't hear you, is Jacob's encouraging, saying, hey, you can come meet with city staff, and if you got input, it's better to come and give that input ahead of time. You can write them, you can come down and meet with them and show them, because that's what helps change a lot of the wording and things like that. So that's an encouragement, is to personally meet with city staff and to go through and help them think through things.
And also, if you have questions, it's better to bring them up ahead of time so we can try to address them, and then maybe because I hear people come up here all the time and say things that are just completely wrong, and there's just not even an opportunity for me to keep correcting them. And I would love if you have questions about things, contact us.
Well, I think that's good. The only thing I could help in this is off topic as we get to the next one, is I was looking at this and the traffic and everybody talking about the traffic. So maybe we go back and make it to where people can't sell parking in their yards and we don't have any more traffic back there during these big events. Shut it down.
I did think about that.
Anyway, but just a crazy thought. But anyway.
Yeah, that's a whole other conversation. We can look into that.
I mean, that's what I thought of when I
Because if we're
looked at it.
clogging the neighborhoods,
Well,
yeah.
I mean, when I looked at the map. But anyway, not a, kind of joking.
That's valid, though.
Well, just kind of joking. So let's move on to the next discussion item. That's concept for student housing zoning district.
Yep, we keep hearing this from a lot of constituents that there should be a student housing zoning district. That's where I put people on notice as to where you want student housing developed. So I'll just read kind of the introductory description of it. Student housing residential district. The purpose of the SH residential district is to direct purpose-built student housing into intended areas. This district is intended to permit high-density development located adjacent to or located on CAT bus or other approved mass transit routes within 1 mile of campus. Due to the proximity of campus, mass transit access, residential parking is restricted within these districts. So we're looking for areas that are suitable to go higher density and actually restrict the number of cars that can be there. So very often zoning ordinances will have a minimum parking requirement. This is going the other way, actually curtailing how many parking spots, how many you can install. Now, again, this ordinance is just creating the possibility of creating this district. It's not actually implementing the district until you then go to the next step, what we're doing on North Clemson, and adopt a map showing where it'll be. So this just gives the possibility to create this district. And you will see, higher density, lots of design standards. I think the one that, jumps out, so I want to make sure everyone is seeing it, is...
What page are you on?
I'm going to page 22.
You're allowed.
Which is conditional use standards for multifamily development. Heights of structures are limited to 7 stories unless the main vehicular access to the site is via Daniel Drive, in which case 14 stories is allowed. So then it goes into buffer requirements, go up to an 80-foot buffer, which allows for 2 layers of canopy trees to be planted, which is kind of the intended. But, you know, do we think that this might be a pie in the sky, but maybe. But, so we're talking about 99 Wyatt, Daniel Square, those type of areas, the places that are down in the hole, basically. If they could get access directly onto Daniel Square, so that is going directly onto University, we would encourage a 14-story building there potentially. Because it would obviously be no impact to the neighborhood traffic-wise, does a great bit of, you know, supplemental to the downtown businesses' walkability, and is just right there on campus. So again, as Rupert was pointing out, we have a lot of housing that we have to accommodate somewhere. And we do believe that we have a plan that we can do it. We just have to be very strategic about how we do these things and where we do these things.
And I think, Jacob, I'm going to interject. One of the pieces that he glossed over there a little bit is at 14 stories in that location in the hole, it'll probably look like 6 above ground, as best as we've done that. We will, obviously this moves forward, we'll go on with our GIS department to work on drone footage or whatever, but like we're fairly confident in the calculations we've made with our engineering department that would look more like 6. So potentially shorter than some stuff surrounding it in the area.
I got some examples that kind of give people I don't know, reference points that you guys are used to. So the starting elevation there is only 708. So if you were to compare this, so say they did do the full 14 stories, you would still be 40 feet below Tillman. So just as a kind of a reference point of like the height we're talking about. So that gives you a, I don't know, idea of like how much lower that area is than the surrounding. It's a good 60 plus feet lower than Bowman Field. So just as I kind of like you're just have an idea of where you are in comparison.
Yeah, I think the idea of the 14 stories was based on trying to show 6 stories.
Correct. If you already have 6 stories basically underground, we'll say, you know, well.
Just trying to say it for the record. Somebody might be listening.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think it's a secret. It's certainly, I mean, I was told today this particular sentence showed up online. It shouldn't be, but I know to those same residents, like, it's no secret that developers are going through there trying to assemble. We've met with several of them that have tried to assemble. They keep failing, but one day we expect somebody will.
But this is a good spot for that. It's already student housing. It's high density, but it could be a lot higher, a lot closer to campus.
And the caveat and the hurdles that they'll have to climb, I mean, this will require an agreement with the university to allow that traffic there, or this ordinance is explicitly written, it won't happen. So
this would be a zoning change. If somebody went to Daniel Square, this is a zoning change for them to come before you.
Correct. So this would be a way to make it like, so you wouldn't have to go through a whole PD process where you're writing all the things. This would be ready to go. And there's 2 ways to do it. We could either implement it ahead of time, or, you know, when a developer comes, you know, have it on the books and ready to go. There's 2 ways of looking at how to do that.
Yeah, I think it, only because this also came up today, there were, you know, our current comprehensive plan envelops Clemson Next. All the pieces of Clemson Next are in that for our purpose. Clemson Next is still a great document that we've referenced at certain times, but the big points are in the comprehensive plan. It's important to remember in that first report, it was like, hey, we want student housing here, here, and here. We never went back as a community with the overlays to say that. This creates that. So I think there is opportunity for, like Brian said, some developers, places we wouldn't proactively place it. But I also think there are some areas where we probably would, off of Kelly Road, certain instances where Clemson Next projected some of this stuff would go. I think, because I think there, and you're in a similar situation where you've got a lot of topography things, and you could go to the 7 stories and it would look like 2. So I think there are some places like that we probably would. This just gives us the option to potentially think about some things.
The only thing I've thought about is just on the first page, within 1 mile of campus, just trying to make sure if we're gonna do it either aerial or road mileage.
So we've been looking at it as the crow flies currently.
Okay.
That encompasses everything that we're thinking about, but we can look at that in 2 different directions. And honestly, because everywhere we're considering is like a direct access route, road miles and as the crow flies has been exactly the same.
Okay.
There's been a straight shot to it. So.
Okay. Just to make, my only concern was if we were gonna do the road mileage, then you may have somebody down the road trying to bend it a little bit to get something. So if we're gonna do aerial, that's probably the easiest way to do it.
Aerial is usually the easiest way to do it.
Okay.
I've learned a lot about distances since the George Strait concert.
But what you were also saying is the concept of this gives the opportunity to develop the map, but then the map would have to come in, get approved and go. So it might be a half a mile one way and a mile the other way that would reflect in changing this at that point, is what you're saying. So there are a lot of other universities, I think, that have gone to student housing focused areas.
Yes. Yeah, there's lots of cities that have it in there, and it's a flag to developers and saying, hey, this is where we want you to go. Because they don't want to be wasting all their time either.
I think the thing that I'll say that it's not, I don't think any one person is at fault here, but in terms of just how we've developed as a community, we've had those areas, they just haven't been close to campus at all.
Yeah.
They've been past the train tracks, which is a massive bottleneck for everyone that lives up there, and not a great, you have to drive essentially, unless you can catch one of the buses that go through there. That's one of our issues. The one thing I want to bring up too is that, just because you mentioned, like nationally, that is a trend that designate districts. We've talked to counterparts at SEC and ACC schools. Also, and I know this is anathema here, but the national trend is to just no parking, period. And I know that doesn't fly here politically currently, but downtown Greenville, you can build a skyscraper. There is no parking requirement, I think, right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
And
Make sure I'm not wrong.
And that's not even necessarily student buildings. That is the
Young
national trend, exactly. The people who want to live in cities, people who want to go vertical, do not want cars. That's been the national trend going forward. I mean, as Dave just said earlier, they're kind of way above parked. Everyone else is coming in at 30%, you know. But that's going across the board, not even just in student housing districts. That is just multifamily now.
I know basically what that's saying is,
yeah, it's going to be so.
if they wanted to, if these guys wanted to come and build something, we don't have that requirement, but if they want it, they got to figure out how to pay for it and still meet the other, which means dig deep.
I think one of the interesting things in looking at the map, and I noticed it tonight when the developer was thinking it, because I knew this talk was coming up, like we are concentrating it in these areas. Like if you look at it was better when it was on the screen. If you look at all the yellow on this map, it's 85% of our community still R20. So we are concentrating it in certain areas to protect all of the rest of that. And I know that that's not something that people like to hear, but that is essentially what Clemson Next and other documents that we have say.
Yeah, because our town is around 5,000 acres, and we're really talking about less than 100 in play of every development you see, so.
So, why wouldn't we rezone 99 Wyatt and?
Well, I think we might do it proactively, yeah.
Yeah, because it's like, then otherwise, I mean.
Then we gotta have this fight about rezoning a property.
Yeah,
same as a
exactly.
PD every time.
No, that's what we're saying, is that we have to get the ordinance first, and then we're gonna be coming back to you with a map. But, you know, we're gonna obviously spend, we already have several places that we're pretty sure we're coming back to you. We wanna flush them out fully, and then we'll be back with a map.
And I've been vocal with you guys, like, I don't want more bedrooms above the train tracks. I don't want 93 to turn into 123 because of adding beds along the highway. It should all be commercial. And so, obviously, we're entering into a zoning study, and these are just incremental things we can do prior to that to set that up.
So is the overlay district completely out for a time frame scenario? Have we lost that?
I think, yeah.
Just making sure.
Yep.
Okay.
We have anybody to add any requirements, since we're doing low parking, no parking. And first, when we say within a mile, is that center campus, edges of campus? So a mile from the edge either way. I just wanted to make sure where this stretches to. With PD, we can do stuff like there's donation for a cat bus, things like that, there's no cars. Can we put any kind of transit requirements in for this? Like, you gotta.
We can look at it if we feel that's appropriate.
And I'm thinking, because Daniel's like, okay, you can walk everywhere, blah, 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 you can catch an Uber to go get groceries if you need to, but that's not gonna be the only thing we're doing this for, is that one spot. It's for everywhere else, and I don't want it to turn into a liability for the city of, okay, we got all this, and yes, it's gonna increase taxes and stuff, but now we've got to fund a way for these people to get around.
Yeah, I mean, we have to look at that closely, because again, strategically placing these type of things is so important for good planning.
Right.
As far as, being able to serve it for transit. I don't care if you give me $100,000, in the long run, that doesn't do anything for a transit line. It's
Right, I was
way
thinking more
important to
of,
have
more
it.
of annually sponsoring
Yeah.
like a continuing, not just.
Maybe, we'll look into that.
I looked at the bus and I was like, it's great to
maybe-
get a bus, but we gotta buy a new one in 10 years.
Yeah, but it's way easier if everyone's just in the right spot, it makes transit actually work financially.
Plus what our impact and use fees are.
Yeah, we have massive impact fees.
Some of that should be.
Right, that's a one-time fee.
It's a huge fee.
But the fee on 14 stories would be.
I don't know.
Okay, and the other thing, like say 99 Wyatt or where Daniel Square, somebody could acquire some of those properties and do 14 stories next to.
If they were able to meet all the criteria we're asking for, yeah. I mean, you wouldn't necessarily have to get the entirety.
All of them.
Yeah.
Well, you have to get 2 acres.
Why?
Huh? Because it's a new zoning district and you can't put a zoning district in with less than 2 acres.
You're talking about if we didn't, but they wouldn't have to buy the 2 acres.
Oh, yeah, right, if we zone the whole,
thing.
okay, sorry, yes, we'd have to zone 2 acres, but then they could buy an acre of that acre and do a 1 acre project.
Good point.
Oh, yeah, and the bigger areas, like you said, around Kelly Road, we don't anticipate that to be one developer. We anticipate, you have a single-family house there that you rent to students, that you reinvest and make it a quadplex. Like, we are not looking for only giant developments. That's not this at all.
Yeah, that's not the.
That is not the intention whatsoever.
No, that's gonna, we focused on that line because we know that's gonna get all the.
Yeah, that was just, I knew it was gonna be most controversial. There's
just one piece of the.
More than likely, that's never gonna happen, let's be honest, like ever. But I want people.
I guess I'd like some more examples.
Yes.
Because
Do that real quick, yeah, if you can.
Yeah, so this district allows for all the other stuff that we were talking, like the middle housing things that you're talking about. Quadplexes, smaller multifamily too. So we're more than likely, and you wouldn't have to have 2 acres, nothing like that. If you can jam in, 6 units over on Kelly Road where you currently have a single family, we're okay with that. You're gonna have to go through Board of Architectural Review for design, you're gonna have all these.
Like a 6-story building, 1 family on each floor.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that's.
Or 1, whatever.
Yeah.
Unit, okay.
Or you may, now, I think we were, and some of the, commission members are really ones who came up with very good ideas. You'll notice in that same district, the occupancy of a single family is only 2. Because we don't want single families there, because we didn't want this to just be an opportunity for somebody to make a frat house there. That all of a sudden you're like, well, if we just up their district, I don't have to do any investment, I'm just gonna start renting this to 4 or 5 people. We didn't want that. So we want this to be invested and done properly.
And these are also areas, like some in the community have said tonight, they're already getting a ton of looks.
Oh, yeah.
So the Kelly Road area is all those single family owners are getting calls constantly to turn into 4 or 5 townhomes. That's already happening. This actually just allows it to happen.
Yeah, I actually saw a listing on Silver Day for Kelly Road for some townhouses that don't currently exist.
Where a single-family home currently.
Yeah, there's 4 townhouses for sale that where there's, I don't know exactly where the house is, I've been there, but, yeah.
I caught the same listing and I was like, where's that?
Yeah, that's what, I was like, there's none over there.
But then even down on College Heights, there was a home for sale recently for like 600,000. So there's another area. I don't want to speculate. Is the home or the land worth what they're asking for? Who knows? Is it with 5 brand new townhomes there? Sure. It's more about placing density where it needs to be.
So I think you brought up a good point. I think we got off in a discussion of just one section of this.
Correct.
Which was only one plot of land.
Yep.
And I think for everybody to understand, don't hear that that one plot of land is just it. So I was just trying to get my bearings with Kelly Road. If some of you are like me and can't remember where everything is, across from First Citizens Bank, back in there, the plot that he's talking.
Start at Potbelly and come out at Barbecue.
Right. So what happened, what they're saying is that for middle housing to create either townhomes or littler places or things where you can get it in there, that's what's going to happen. I think the reason Jacob went all the way to the 14 stories is because of the misinformation that was put out online today of making that the focus. That is not the focus.
No, you're right, but this is, you mentioned, just sort of like, you said middle housing. This is the student housing.
Right.
We're doing that, that one was right.
Yeah,
I just don't want
that one
anybody
is
to
a
get
less
confused that these are the
dense
same
option.
thing. These are 2 different districts.
Yeah, middle housing, the highest density you can go is quadplexes.
I should have.
This goes above that. This is small apartment buildings, most of it, little garden, 3-story walk-ups, even bigger and things like that. Like those are all.
Thank you.
So a great example, going back to Kelly Road, you got Crawford Falls and whatever the townhomes are across the street from Crawford Falls. Whatever those townhomes are called, they might be part of Crawford.
Yeah, part of Crawford.
Anyway, that's what we're talking about. You can do that.
And then there's still a lot of places and sections with
no
one.
cars there? That would be student housing?
Just, they would have a maximum allowable instead of a minimum allowable. So right now, it's like for RM4, it's 1 car per bed. So if this would be half a car per bed, or 50% parked would be the maximum you could have.
Yep.
And that's different for different types of developments, or is that gonna be?
It's gonna be different for different types of development.
But for the multifamily, it's gonna be 0.5 as the max.
Because the other ones only require 2 per unit anyway.
Right.
So, yeah.
It's a lot, y'all.
Yeah, this is a big one.
I mean, it's
we
a lot.
expect you all to have lots of questions.
So there should be a lot of questions, and I would ask you again to please, when it comes up for discussion, to please send your questions in to these guys. Please do that. And comments. I mean, a lot of the stuff gets resolved by having those detailed thoughts, so appreciate that.
There are many times, I know Brian's guilty of this once, but like, if y'all will write me just like a novel stream of consciousness, I can call Jacob or Art can call me and Jacob in his office. We'll sit there and just try to hit it sentence by sentence. Like, that's so helpful in this. I know, like, if I were in your shoes, I'd be like, I don't want to do that. But Tiffany sent one for middle housing, and it was like, we sat there and went line by line. Like, it's super helpful for us. We never think you're dumb. We think, like, we're in this code, which is convoluted all day. And a lot of times you'll ask, where is this? And it's already somewhere else, and all we can connect dots is really what we're doing. So we love that. So feel free to do that.
Just before we hang it up, I flipped over the back and it said that the mixed use, the units for mixed use, it's something else, it's not part of this, but it reminded me that we had discussed possibly if it would be a good idea or a bad idea to allow some limited retail, since there's not gonna be transportation or things like that, like not necessarily the full mixed use like our other district where the whole downstairs has gotta be or whatever, but right now you're not allowed to have any.
Right now, we're not allowing retail in this district at all. Mostly because the areas that we're considering are walkable to commercial districts. and we kind of felt it was better to try to support and fill up Grandmark than create more commercial this time. If all the commercial gets built out and we still see that there is a need for it, we may reconsider allowing retail and certain commercial uses in these districts. But right now, we thought about it, originally had it in there, and took it out. But if you guys want to discuss, putting commercial into this district, we can absolutely do that. But I'll kind of get with you about the reasonings of why, but we landed on, we did not think it was appropriate at this time, but it may be something in the future that would be reconsidered.
We feel certain places that obviously we're thinking about, everything on near Kelly Road is walkable to Publix or CVS, out the other way.
And there was some concerns from law enforcement about, I guess the Skybox still has a very, I don't know if anyone's familiar with that, but there used to be a bar in the middle of a neighborhood in a student housing district that might not have been the greatest thing that's ever happened to the city.
Okay, well, any staff reports?
Just kind of a reminder for the 18th, next Monday, is the public hearing for the Pine Street PD. Because we have to advertise so early because of the state notice requirements. Sometimes you forget about it when it actually comes up. So that's coming up next week. And we'll coordinate and get a date for the public hearing on the PD from tonight. That's the first next step.
Anything else? Anything? Nathan? No. Under staff report. Kelly, any staff reports for us? I'm just checking. Representation at council meeting, future workshops, we're all good.
Can I just give a shout? Clemson Elementary School, I just want to mention them. They did an outstanding job this year. I don't know if for people that don't have kids and you guys want to know some people that do a good job, they are fantastic over there and they've got the stats to back it up. I can't remember them all and I don't want to misquote them, but I came out, I want to say number 4 in the state. So those guys, they do an amazing job over there and I think they deserve a little recognition.
I agree with you. Good. That's good. Well, got a motion?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Second, no.
Yep. Gotcha. Okay, I was trying to catch it. Anyway, thank you.